Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Today we're going to be building the all-new model kit from Dragon, the 1/35 scale M752 Lance missile carrier. The Lance missile carrier carried obviously the Lance missile on it, which could carry either a conventional or a nuclear warhead on it. It saw service, or entered service in 1972 and saw service all the way up to 1992, so a 20-year lifespan on it. It's, like I was saying earlier, an all-new model inside. Part count is not too bad. It's about 420 parts. Looks to be very nicely molded inside, so let's get started on it. Okay, we're going to start off with the lower hull, which is a partial bathtub style hull. The sponsons are already in place here. You may notice that I've already installed one of the drive sprockets on this side. The suspension arms are pre-molded onto the kit already, so you don't have to do anything on those. The reason I molded this one in place was I was kind of like measuring out the parts and trying to get them to fit. And when you go to put this piece on, if I can hold it, not much to grab onto right here, and it's kind of a weird the way it's sitting. I almost thought I had it on wrong. Turns out it was right the way it is, but it makes it a lot easier to attach if you go ahead and attach the drive sprocket first, then come back and attach this, because the instructions show you to do it the other way. Just it clicks into place so much easier when you put the drive sprocket in first. So I'm going to glue this in, and then we've also assembled all the road wheels already as well. We're going to glue those in there, as well as these little tiny idler wheels for the front. So I'll put all those pieces in, and then we'll start working on the missile platform. So I'm in the process right now of gluing on some of the parts for the rocket support, and this is the piece that actually holds the rocket into place. There is an abundance, we'll just call it, of little tiny parts on this. In fact, as it stands right here, there's actually already on here about 36 parts that I've already glued together, and there's still plenty more to glue on here. Now, it's nothing that's super difficult. There's just a lot of little tiny parts that, as a build point of view, would probably get kind of boring. So I will show you some of the bigger assemblies after I put them together. The piece is going to probably look magnificent just because of the detail. I mean, we're talking about gluing each one of these little individual pieces into place, as well as all these little brackets, and this little side piece alone right here is 5 pieces, as well as this and all these other little pieces. So it's going to look really good. It is a kit, like I said earlier, that there's 400 parts in the kit, and I think about the majority of them are in this this support unit right here. The vehicle itself is not very large, so it's going to be mainly made up of, you know, some side slabs, but a lot of detail going into this internal part. So I'll come back and from time to time and show you how it's progressing. Well, I'm kind of jumping a little bit ahead here, but this is what 4.5 hours and 120 parts looks like when it's to build the cradle that will lift the rocket or missile that's inside of it. And this was a lot of work. It looks beautiful, I think, once it's done. It's very intricate. This kind of stuff can all turn, as well as elevate. I'm not going to elevate it right now. I don't want to end up breaking anything that I just spent all that time putting together. So lots and lots of parts. It's not impossible. It's a little bit just because some of the parts are really tiny on it, and that's why the part count goes up so high. But if you're looking for something that's going to be super detailed, I mean, just looks great the way it is. Now that part has been done, the good part about the rest of this kit is the rest of this kit's can pretty much fall together, because this is a great majority of the parts is putting in that. In fact, I started assembling the rocket here, and it is a grand total of 8 parts. So you've got the 4 parts right here, and then we're going to glue into place the fins that go on here. So that is, I just need to do a little more sanding, taking care of this seam right here. This seam is actually a weld seam that's actually supposed to be on there, but there is a slight little seam that I've been polishing back and forth with our foam padded sanding thing. That'll really take care of that really easily. So I'm going to finish up this, glue on all of the fins, and then we can start working on the rest of the body. Okay, what I've done now is I've just assembled all of the little sub-assemblies to start assembling the main part of the body. And didn't really show any of this. I don't want to show this on camera just because it's so small little pieces. It's just putting on all these little hooks and light fixtures and things like that. Believe it or not, there's about 24 pieces that go on this little back panel. But nothing difficult, just taking time putting the little pieces in place. So now that we have all of these sub-assemblies, we can virtually put almost the entire body together. You remember earlier I was telling you about this little cover plate that was a little unusual to put on based on the instructions. There is a little gap in here, and this front panel slides into place. It's a little tight, but it does fit. I've already dry fitted it once, so it kind of just snaps into place there. We'll put some glue on that in a few minutes. And once we get the front on, now we can attach the driver's compartment. And that just fits right into place right there. With that in place, now we can also attach the rear section that actually holds the missile. And you do have to drill a couple of holes in here first, and that is to take the two holes that fit on the launch mechanism. And that, of course, will drop right into place here into those two holes, which I'm going to glue all this down as well. And you also have the wood running boards that go on the side, and these will drop right into place just like this. We'll glue those into place as well. So what I'll do is I'm going to glue these into place, and then I'm going to show you the next couple of steps. So once that is into place, I left the launch mechanism out for a little while because I'm not going to glue that in yet because we want to paint that separately because there's so much detail that we want to take advantage of. And then it's just a matter of gluing in the two side rails, which got them on backwards there, sorry. Gluing that into place as well as this one, which I will glue, there it goes, it kind of clicks right into place. And I'm going to glue those two in, and then we'll also glue the tailgate on. My hand will get in the way, so I'm going to glue it on off camera, but I was dry fitting it just before we filmed this, and fits really, really well on there. Thought I would show you a little bit of the gluing process on the back, just for the one reason, just to let you see that what they've done is they've put facets on everything. So when you do put this into place, that the thing fits in nice, and you get a nice straight line on it. And you can use a little bit of the liquid cement, get that to fit into place. And now that we have a nice firm solid foundation here, which when you build this kit you'll really be amazed. It felt like kind of loose and flimsy, but when you get all these nice big pieces glued on here, it really adds some nice stability to it, and it really feels like a nice firm piece. The last thing we need to glue into place is the engine cover. Pop that on. I'm just going to put this in here temporarily again just to show you. As well as we've got this piece that we've assembled up, which was part of the missile holder. It has a little pieces of photo etch. It gets glued right in here. And then we can also go ahead and mount the missile, which will just kind of ride right on top like that. Now they give you two options. They give you this option right here with the clear side pieces that you can glue into place right here. So you have like in the up drivable position. Since I have the rocket or the missile in the up position, I'm going to knock these pieces off and put it in the launch position, which would protect all these components inside there. So I'll take these pieces off and put it back down in there. So I've got all the main parts of the body that went together pretty quickly. We've also attached all of the little tow hooks and little handles and things all over the vehicle. The only other major piece that we have to put on are the side skirts here. And now I've held off putting those on yet is because we still have to do the track assembly on it. Now the top of the track assembly is not going to be seen, but the tracks in this kit are a length and length track. So there's long pieces that will make up the bottom and the top, as well as the parts that are going up, and then you have a bunch of little pieces that will make up the curve that goes around both the drive sprocket and the return idler. The only other thing on this is going to take a little bit of time is the tracks look really nice. You do have to glue in individually the rubber pad that would go on top of the track. So it's going to take a little bit of time cutting those out and popping those into place. I've started gluing up some of the pieces that go around the drive sprocket. We cut those out, put a little liquid cement on it, let them set up for a little while, and then after they get to a certain point, you'll be able to wrap them around, which these are not there yet, but and you can see I started to glue the pads in. So once we get it to the right shape, or the right time, we can wrap it around and get the right shape that we want out of this as well. So we'll let this set up for a little bit while longer. I'm going to cut out all the tracks. I won't show any of the building on the tracks because the tracks are pretty straightforward. Well, here we are. Here is our mostly completed model. And I say mostly because we've left a few of the tools off, as well as I have not glued the rubber pads into place. And I just think it's going to be easier to paint the tracks up, all of that stuff, do a little bit of the weathering, and then put the black pad into place last on it. Now, the kit overall, as I was telling you earlier, is kind of a mixed bag of the way kits go together. Part of it is extremely simple, and all of it is straightforward and pretty easy to put together in the sense that, you know, following the instructions. Where it gets difficult is the actual launch platform, and that was merely because of the number of parts on it. But looking at it, I think it's absolutely necessary that they did that number of parts because it looks absolutely wonderful on it. Because the rest of the vehicle is basically kind of plain looking by design, whereas this has all the little wheels and, you know, all the other little parts inside that just really make it stick out. So once you put it inside, that is really what your eye is going to get drawn to, as well as the missile that's going to be sitting up on top of it. So like I was saying, the kit has some areas that do require quite a little bit of little parts to put in, but it's nothing that other than just taking, you know, 5 or 6 hours of working on it and just taking your time and putting it together properly. So now that we've got that whole portion of it done, let's go ahead and start painting. Now we're going to start the painting process out, and we're going to start, as many of you all know, we're going to use XF69, the NATO Black, and that is going to be our shadow coat. And the reason we use NATO Black a lot of times too is anytime there's any rubber areas, it's nice using the NATO Black because it already looks like rubber, so we don't have to usually go back over and paint it. And black or NATO Black, either one of them work, but I just happen to use the NATO Black. And I know in the last video too, I didn't mention the fact that I was going to use the NATO Black, figuring everyone who watches the videos knows that. And a few of you were like, oh, you missed the fact that I didn't say it. So I'm saying I'm painting the whole thing with NATO Black. So let's spray this whole thing down. Now that we have the black and white coat on, we're going to do a very light coat of XF62 Olive Drab. We don't want to go too heavy, not to cover up any of our shadow and light coat on there. Next, I'm going to start the process of doing the Murdic camouflage. You'll have to forgive me having my hand in the way on part of this video, and that's strictly because I have to get very, very close with the airbrush so we don't get overspray. We've dialed the pressure down to about 15 pounds, and this way we can get a lot closer and get a much finer line on the model rather than having big wide patches of overspray. Now for the brown color, I'm using a mixture of 75% desert yellow and 25% NATO brown. After that, we're just going to use our regular NATO black to kind of just do some black highlights around the brown. And finally, the last color that we'll use is just simple buff XF57, and that's just some of the highlight colors that go right on around the edge of the brown and the greens. Now I sprayed the missile a NATO green because I wanted a little different tone than the olive drab that we had on the carrier. Now we're going to go ahead and put a little Mark Fit Strong and apply all of these decals into place here. And the missile has quite a few decals that go on it, so I'll kind of show you what they look like after I get them all on. So this is the vehicle all painted up with the camouflage, as well as I've gone ahead and painted the lights and put the last little bit of decals on the body of the vehicle. Now that we have the paint job done, I've sealed the entire model with, to me, is TS80 flat clear. So that's sealed in our entire paint job. So now we can go ahead and do a little bit of weathering on it. It's just going to be a light weathering on this one, not too heavy. And we're also just going to go over and give it a little grime and panel liner. And I just like to first put down a thin coat of enamel thinner first. And for this particular one, I'm going to use a little streaking grime. I'm not going to go too heavy on it. Putting a few dots here and there. And then just back into our brush with the thinner on it. Let's just streak that down. And you can just keep working it back and forth, and doing more and more coats, just depending on however weathered you want it to look like. Now I'm also putting a little touch of light rust. And it doesn't necessarily mean we're trying to duplicate rust with this color. The rust color is just more of kind of like a reddish brown earth. And you can also think of it as too. So, and it really sticks out a lot better sometimes on the green colors that are really dark, and those darker browns don't show up as well. So, and it does, like I said, doesn't always look like rust. It just looks like a different color grime, especially depending on the color that you're using it over. Now for the tracks, I've gone ahead and glued on the rubber pads. I also, before I glued on the rubber pads, painted the tracks the brownish black color they use for chipping and for tracks. Now we're just taking a little thinner and putting a little light sienna on, Vallejo pigments. And it doesn't matter if it gets on the pad itself, because it'll be able to wipe right off of that, but we do want a little bit of to build up inside the little crevices on the track. And once you let that dry, now it's time to go over it with a big brush, kind of knock off all the high points of it, also clean off the pads. And it just leaves just enough behind that it looks like they've been used. And even though it's kind of hard to see, we're also going to go ahead and do a little bit of the grease and grime inside the vehicle as well. because this is where guys would be walking and getting it dirty in there. So we're putting a little bit of grime inside first. And then after that dries, we're going to streak that a little bit. We're going to go over it with a little bit of the light sienna, as well as a little bit of European earth, and just kind of blend this in here, letting it set up and dry. Now also keep in mind, as I'm working on this stuff and I show you guys this, it's a little bit longer process than what I'll show on camera, so not to make it boring, I will go over this multiple times with different layers of dust and grime and blend and blend and blend and blend until I get to the final surface that I like. I'm just kind of showing you the outlines of this, and then you take it to the degree that you want to. Now once this dries, we will take our, it'll turn a lot lighter, we'll take our big flat brush and brush out most of it, and we'll leave some grime and dust behind. And I'll show you what that looks like once it dries and after I've done all the blending. So now that the inside is dried, we also took a little touch of panel line accent, kind of put some little blobs here and there. Now I know it may look like it's very, very weathered, and I did that on purpose because once we put the cradle in for the missile, most of it is covered up. But I'm going to try to take some pictures down inside. Hopefully you can see the inside down there. You can see all the dirt and grime. It doesn't look as bad or overdone once you put the cradle in there. And now that we have all the weathering the way we want, the last thing I'm going to do is just take a little Tamiya XF57 buff and just lightly, and I'm talking from about maybe 18 to 24 inches away, just put a light little dust coat on it. And that's going to blend all the colors together and kind of take all the rubber areas and things like that and just put a light layer of dust on them. Well, here we are. Here's our completed model kit. And I'll first kind of give you a little 360 around, kind of show it to you. Now talking about, kind of give you a little bit of a review of the kit overall. There is a fair amount of parts in this kit. There's 420 parts. Not all of them are used, obviously. The overall body construction, as you saw, goes together very, very easily. There are some areas that there's a lot of little tiny parts. The biggest portion, of course, is doing the cradle right here that holds the Lance missile. And yes, there is a lot of parts. Like I was telling you earlier, probably about 130 plus parts in this. But honestly, in this case, this is a time I actually think that it's very, very necessary for the most part, all those little pieces, to make it such a detailed, just beautiful looking piece, because this can actually be displayed outside of the carrier if you decided on. The back, of course, opens up as well too if you're going to do it more of a launch position. This is kind of like midway point on it, but and then like I said, so there's areas that are going to take you a little bit of time, and there's other areas that'll just basically fall together for you. So, but it is modeling, so, and I know some of you love doing a lot of little parts, and some of you can't stand it, so up in the air. Now, when it came to the tracks, of course, we did have those little pads, and believe it or not, they went together pretty quickly on there. It's just a matter of cutting them off. They're black DS styrene, which I wish actually they would use black DS styrene on all of their DS tracks. That way it's one less layer of painting you have to worry about scraping off. So, and it was just a matter of putting a little bit of glue, cutting them off, and just dropping them into place. And it adds a nice little bit of detail because they do stick up quite a bit higher than what a normal just molded track would be. And I also want to take this moment right now to give out some thanks to some people. First of all, I want to thank all of you guys right now that are sitting here watching this video, watching any of my videos for that matter. I really appreciate it. It's humbling to know the number of people that are out there that want to see the different kits get built together. I also want to thank everyone who subscribes to my channel. As you might know, if you're looking up in the corner there, we're about to hit 50,000 subscribers, which for a modeling channel I thought was actually impossible. I didn't think there was that many modelers in the world for that matter, but we're such a small group. That's why it's good to see everyone supporting each other, especially when you are a small group like that. I also want to thank all the people who leave kind comments on my channel, and I'm sorry I don't always get a chance to respond to all of them because of the mere number of them, but I do appreciate them. I do see them all, and really thank you for leaving them. Also want to take this opportunity to thank all of the visitors that I get to my store. There's not a day that doesn't go by that I don't get at least one or two, and sometimes 3 or 4 of my great fans that come out and visit me here in the store. It's a pleasure to speak to you. It's also great to see that there's a number of young people getting involved in the hobby. So I want to thank you guys as always for watching, and please stay tuned because I have many more videos coming.